They were kind of dumb. Be the impact that'll crack the planet open. The darkness put him back. I'm burned, said Chili, but yet it has all the meaning. Editing Morgan here. There definitely needs to be an introduction for the vlog. Here I am, reading part 1. And after this, when I start the vlog in a moment, I will be very excited and I will go into a lot of spoilers. In the following parts, I do rein in the spoiler talk much more, so mostly the spoilers are here. There will be spoilers later on as well, but not near maybe as much. The poll that was up was still very split at the time when I started, so I figured we would do this kind of more evenly in this presentation with hardly any b-roll, because that just didn't work out of having anything interesting to film anyway. I really hope you enjoy this vlog though, and we'll stick around to find out all about the book. Happy Friday. Okay, well, it's Friday for me. I hit the microphone today, or now, where we're starting this point. No, this is not a weekend vlog, because I don't think I will be able to finish the book in a weekend. This is just a dedicated vlog for Slow Gods by Claire North, because I got the e-arc of it like a month or two ago. I don't know why I didn't start it then. I'm, well, very busy. And this week, oh my gosh, this week. But I was going to wait till tomorrow to start it, but I kind of started it a little bit while waiting on something else at lunchtime. And then I just decided, okay, I'm going to read all of part 1 today. So that's what I did. I finished that a little bit ago. I might have inserted that clip. We're going to see how bad the lighting looks and stuff, because there was some facial expressions probably being made in that. What can I say about it so far? That from chapter 1, I was already thinking, okay, I'm going to enjoy this. And I debate reading you chapter 1 because it is like super short. I don't know if you're going to be able to see my tablet, but that's chapter 1. Just the page and a half. And I've like bumped up the font just a little bit for ease of eyeballs, you know. I'm not blind, but ease of eyeballs. Some of these things are definitely hard words and terms, but I like our narrator, the way he goes about things and thinking, because I can foresee maybe some people having a problem with the way it's written. I guess it's like saying, not showing exactly, and that it's talking to you like you don't know nothing. But it is the personality of the narrator. And actually, for a few of it, it's appreciated because it's done in such a roundabout way, because how he grew up and what he experienced. They were kind of dumb. So he's expecting the people he's writing this for aren't going to understand. That's what's happening with that. So I can see some people might have a problem, but I'm actually having a good time with it in the way he's framing it. The very first line, at least in this copy, is exactly what it was from the description. My name is, let's butcher this, Mawakana na there's not an A there, V Dons. And I am a very poor copy of myself. Maybe the neighbors are gone now. I don't hear any more laughter, and the honking has stopped. They're good people, but they love to honk the horn. They love to honk their horn. Okay, I don't even remember what I was saying anymore. I was talking about reading you chapter 1. I still haven't decided, because it is an e-arc, so we don't know particularly that will be exactly how everything is. And also with these quotes, but it's important a little bit. I don't think this has a map, which is sad, because some of the things are confusing in relation to others. I don't know. Maybe in the official version, it will end up coming with a map at least to position these planets around each other. Because this is a sci-fi. It's supposed to be a standalone sci-fi. And based off what we're getting so far, I think it's going to pull it off. The crux of it, though, is we are following our main character. And in his society, they were pioneers to these planets. And the first planet that was stupidly landed upon was one that was very, very hard and not hospitable to human life. And yet the captain picked it anyway and said, we're going to be strong and survive because we have that pioneering spirit. And that formed into the belief of their civilization from that point onward. You work to earn things. At birth, babies are installed with something that collects their debt. And so at birth, he already owed like 7,000 gleams, I think. But his parents were able, they'd prepared, they'd saved up, and they got him down to just 600. And going from that point forward for the raising of him all the way through his school, and he now owes like 57,000 gleams at the age of like 14 when he stopped school because he didn't show any aptitude to any career fields that would continue more education. Because they don't value education, because of course if you value education, then maybe you get ideas that maybe this isn't the right system to rule people based off. So they don't prize education. They only go off of labor. Only the strong survive kind of mindset, except, they're all just laborers. You're all just scraping by, or you're educated into something, and then it's maneuvering and favoring and bargaining and stuff to get into higher management, which that gets into a whole nother can of worms, of course. This, of course, is a very, very volatile system. Of course it is. So when the slow, which it's not exactly explained yet what it is, except a ship thing of sorts that moves slowly through space, because it doesn't use arc travel, which is where they arc around the darkness of space, which that's a whole nother creepy idea that I don't think I want to get into yet. We'll wait till it develops a bit more. Tell you about that. The slow send messages to all of the planets, not even just in his venture system. Oh, right. We're our main character. What his system is called is they are the venture, and there are other systems, but they send these messenger cubes to all of these things they warn them that this binary star system that is only 100 light years away from them is going to collide with itself and create a supernova that will destroy all of them. So they should plan for that. So I think it said in 100 years they would be destroyed. But our main character's system shut that down. No, that's not happening. Everybody keep working yourself. Don't worry about it. That's a lie. And they literally shoot the messenger down. It gets to where people are rising up in rebellion and just like realizing not even just that they're lying about this, that's in kind of at the back of the bottom of the wrong peoples. They're realizing that it's all a lie, that they'll never get to succeed no matter how hard they try, even though that's the venture way. You work hard enough and you will succeed. Your life will be better. Your children's life will be better. But that's all a lie. And thus our main character is huddling in his home because everything's going to heck around him, and it just gets firebombed to suppress it. And then he's sent, because he didn't die, so he must be a rebel. So he's sent with all the other prisoners to a debtor's colony because they bought his debt, and his situation just keeps getting worse. It's like horrible. Of course, it's a horrible, hard labor in an even more inhospitable planet. Well, his planet was actually kind of okay. They'd moved on from the very bad hospitable planet because it's been generations to a very, very acid-stained, like acid winds, inhospitable planet. And something happens to him, and he ends up in the chair, which is how we learn how arc travel works, actually, is it has to have biological brain with mechanical brain to make it work. And of course, there's bad consequences. It really messes up the biological aspect. So they shoot him full of drugs, insert the thing into his brain, and that's where things seem to be really interesting. So that's a fair amount of spoilers, maybe. Okay, but I really do think I'm probably only going to read part 1 today. Part 2, it says Beneath the Lover's Light, which is interesting. That's what they're calling the binary stars, that constellation or that star pair. In some systems, they call it the lovers. In his system, it has another name. I don't think I could pronounce that, though. But I find that I do really like, so far, the way it's written. I like our narrator and how he's explaining stuff and how things are going about. It's a little slow, but it's so interesting because it's a shame that he was born where he was, as like he said, he made only middling grades all through, and he didn't really have an aptitude for any of the jobs except a scientifically bent one. Like that's where his interest lay more, but that didn't make money, so couldn't pursue more education for that. And like if he'd just been born somewhere else, he probably would have been really, really smart. From the description, so it's not a spoiler, though it does speak about, the many times he died. I will tell you that by the end of part 1, he has already technically had his first death. And that's why it's so interesting, because he's taking off on this first space flight, and it specifically says he's taking off at 5:54 local time to the planet he's at. 12 seconds before he took off on this first flight, though, halfway across the galaxy in another system that they call Ziana space, some 211 light years off course, drifting uncontrollably through the dark. So they, the Ziana military people declared an emergency. They went and they found it, and everything on board was dead. But it's his ship, the exact ship that he was about to depart from this planet from 12 seconds later. And he does. And when they come to investigate him on his ship, he's just sitting there. Okay, that was enough of a spoiler, probably. So this has gotten interesting. I did kind of want to mention about their scar system, but I don't think that's going to come back up. So far, though, very enjoyable. I am happy with how it's going.
Start recording. Okay. Look at it. Nice breeze blowing. It's a nice breeze out today. Ooh, it's pretty cool. Lake. Beautiful. So beautiful. See the sun setting over there a bit. I don't know how. It's pretty early, I thought.
The kids have been dropped off at school, so now it's time to just be able to sit and read. It was going to be for 40 minutes, but that's already ticking away. And we're doing this instead of reading because I didn't update you at all over the weekend. It's very, very good that I didn't say this was going to be a weekend vlog because I didn't update you. And also, I barely read. Over 2 days, I read just shy of what I read on Friday. But of the things that have happened, I realized I was wrong in one regard. In my very spoiler filled, which I'm probably going to have to do a clip before my first clip to explain that that's going to be a little bit of a spoiler and excitable. And now I'm trying to decide how much more spoilers or something to say. But okay, let's just go back to what I said Friday about the ship and, the time thing. That's still really weird. That's still really, really weird. Like it was technically 12 seconds before he even launched, but it was the same ship. He was found alive on the ship where they also found his blood, enough blood to be like that was you in the pilot chair and you did. And that we don't really actually get the explanation for that and see what happened until the end of chapter 12. When he is talking to his companion that he's kind of been with these first several chapters. Part 2 started, I think, in chapter 8. And so far, part 2 has been all about him being a pilot for the Ziheim. Yep, not going to be able to say these planetary names. They find the ship, though, and now he has been let to be a pilot for them because he is unique in the ability of being able to maintain being a pilot. Did I tell you what happened to the other pilots? That's a good question. Probably should have watched Friday's clip. Maybe I'll watch it before I update again.
Did not do that.
To give you the specifics of the pilot thing and why. But he's been a pilot for them for a while. They kind of have isolated him to his own island, and he has his own little robot companion that's, his monitor guard, kind of. Because now, after that first time of being stuck into the pilot chair, he doesn't feel human. He doesn't think and process the way we do. And that scene at the end of chapter 12 was so sad because hearing him say it, we knew he kind of had really liked science from a young age, but it wasn't a viable option on his planet to be able to be a scientist. And so what happened to him when he was found by these people, the planet he lives on now, and how they were so nice to him and they were sharing all the research with him. And then He's like, I don't know what I did, but I know it's something I did or I said, and it made them afraid and it made them start treating me differently. I don't know how to describe the emotion because I felt this while reading it, but it draws this emotion out as he's telling his companion this of what happened. And just like a little bit before that, it had a really touching scene between them two, as like he thought that after all these years of knowing them, that they would now see him differently because of something the robot minder had said, like he's darkness, he's not, he's other, you shouldn't be that close to him. And like, so it's like, okay, they're going to go away now. They won't want to, be near me anymore because they'll be afraid too. But they weren't. And it's just like, he needed that. He needed somebody to actually care about him like that. That's so, these whole few chapters, they've been going to this planet that's closest to the star that will be supernovaing. And that's how he met this companion. And it was really weird when they first met. He was very kind of abrasive about it. Not our main character, Mal. Gerber, it's not how you say his name, and that's kind of like only the last part of his name. But this has been an incoherent update. So, I mean, realistically, I read 4 chapters. It's not that much. But he's been going as a pilot from the planet that he lives on now to the planet Adjumur, because they'll be destroyed by the supernova. So they've been helping to ferry off important things. Like he's not a person ship, he's a cargo ship that he pilots. That's been the course of what's happening. And I think he just had made his final trip there to the planet, whether he knew it was going to be his final or not. And then him and this companion that he met on his first trip there, it's bittersweet kind of. And now we're moving into chapter 13, and I don't know what the direction exactly will be now. This was a weird update, probably. I'm going to drink my coffee and try to read for a while before having to start other tasks of the day and maybe figure out what the cat's doing.
Yeah, you seem very unbothered by it now they're eating all the food.
Hello. Please don't try to bite that. Don't. Buddy. I have read nothing today. However, we did finish part 2 last night. We got through all of that, which was weird. Because while I'm enjoying the book, there were so many interruptions, like people and all the things. But then my own brain, I would be reading something, and then it's like it would remind me a little bit of something else from a different book, and then I would start thinking of the different book. A lot of the times, sometimes it is one of the Sun Eater books, because it is a very, at least, it's not as reminiscent of the Sun Eater, because several books have it where, it's the narrator style, like King Killer, like, excuse you, sir, Empire of the Vampire, the Tales of Tremaine, which I still need to read the second book of that, and I saw it at the library the other day, and I was like, ooh. But not yet. That's not where we're at. I think the last thing I updated you, which I'm really debating yesterday morning's coherency of what I said, I am going to try not to say as much of the spoilers, especially as we're getting more into the meats of the story. I think I said that, and then one thing I do know I mentioned about Jabir, his acquaintance that became kind of more, and that they, had left off with this very intimate but good kind of sweet parting. Bittersweet parting, of course. And then it didn't. It didn't. It seemed like it had, and it's been, I'm sorry, there keeps being something in my eye all day. Been now, I feel like somewhere Mal said 17 years, but then he also said that they seem to be much older seeming. Things on Ajamir, though, have gone more downhill as the star has supernovaed now, and parts of the radiation have got them, but the big edge of the shock wave and all the radioactive things that will completely kill everything on the planet has not hit yet. It hits in still like 30 more days at this point. And then, or no, I think it's 27 days from the last time that it mentioned it. And in 33 years will be the impact that'll crack the planet open. Major, who is now much older, and another of the Quan systems. Have I explained what the Quan are? I don't know. I should have started editing the vlog already, so that's why I can remember what I've said. But one of the Quans that has made their outer body to put humans more at ease, they've actually made it in a fully human shape, and then we made like the skin and everything kind of luminescent, so it looks kind of like one of the Sci-Fi peoples even in their form. And they come to Ma and they have a mission for him. This is what got me very upset by the end of part 2, as we were getting towards the end, and he's obviously back on Ajamir to recover something that was found on the planet that is of important significance to the assembly and the universe as a whole, pretty much. And we're like, okay, that's weird. And they're like, and he's like, but I have to go. And him and Reneki, which is his Quan that is in the shape of a fox, and it's even got like fur on the outside that people will pet it. And I actually like Reneki a whole lot more than the Quan we saw at the beginning of part 2 that first went to Ajamir with Ma, which that one was quite rude to him and brusque and didn't ever try to relate to him at all. Whereas Reneki does, and Reneki seems to actually kind of like Ma and like, you know, get along with him and want him to be his best self more than just trying to regulate him and keep him from going dark, which I didn't quite understand that. But then we do get to find out why they are so afraid of him exactly. But it's all their own fault. It's all their own fault. Okay, I think about Reneki and how he actually seems to kind of care, and they have an accord, kind of a friendly banter thing that seemed, not even banter, but a friendly dialogue that they seem to maintain. So that's good. I like Reneki. And one part was actually sad, but saying it without saying spoilers, though, is hard. And then some of you want spoilers, some of you don't want spoilers. And also, saying spoilers at the beginning, it feels more okay and safer a lot, too, because then I can say some things without, you know, the whole story. Things. He's on the planet and is in much worse shape. But we do find out what happened to Ma shortly after that very first ship incident where he first met the darkness and was the pilot. And I already mentioned about the lab and how he escaped the lab. We are told this because a way the book does this is you're finding out things kind of out of order, mostly because he is, you know, narrating the story, but he is inserting these actually at semi-relevant points. Because when he went back here, and of course, the world's about to end. Ajamir's world's about to end. So everybody is still trying to get off the planet. There's still 8 million people, I think, on the planet. That their numbers haven't been called in the lot, so they have not been evacuated. And it's just kind of luck of the draw. People are trying to steal ships, so he lands in the middle of nowhere for safety. But of course, some people do notice it, and they try to kidnap him and try to like have him take them on their ship, especially because they have a child. And so they try to beat him into taking them to his ship. And unfortunately, he's beat up a lot. He tries to, you know, warn them that, hey, when the darkness comes, it's going to be very bad. You should just run away. And eventually something happens with the power, lights go out, and then that's when he tells you about what first happened the first time, when he did escape the lab. And he kind of met up with some rebels and apparently went back to Hashatu, and that's why he calls himself the Ghost of Hashatu, and apparently a lot of other people call him the Ghost of Hashatu. And then he did find his way back to Zayan, though, and they put him back in the lab for a little bit before, of course, on his island. But it is an interesting thing because why he's known as the Ghost is because they, you know, tried to kill him, but then nobody paid attention to him. And so the darkness put him back. It was weird. Because there is a quote, which actually was probably right after I updated you last time. It says, it's talking about the darkness. It drove away all uncertainties, made solid things real again. And so being real, of course, I was also real, which made it easier to gun me down. Or no, that's talking about the light. That's just a state of the mind and showing you how he becomes, he's real but isn't real. And he'll refer to himself a lot. He is but isn't, there but not. And it comes into play in certain things. But we find the package. We find out that our assignment, though, and what really got us to go back to the planet was all a lie. And I was like, why would they do this to him? Is it just to try to kill him? Is this just finally the way they're trying to end him? Because at first I thought that the package wasn't real. Like he was there, but it didn't seem real. But no, there was a package. There was a package. But still, the lie. Why the lie? That part didn't make sense. Maybe it was posted just to make sure he would get there. The why him and the why not him, because like anybody could have retrieved the thing. They would still require his brain, or they still want his brain to use the thing. I get that, because this will make a person more insane than even the pilot's chair with the arc jumping thing. That like the gibbering and the talking as soon as he was hooked up to it, and the nonsensical talking. And I'm like, how do you even relay commands through this thing then? They don't sound like they can do the coherent sentences anymore. I don't know, which is the ARC system is very, very odd. And the last thing was when he was hooked up to it and like, he's talked to all these other pilots, he tried to calm them down a little bit. He tried to get like some information out of them, of course, because that's what the Zahirians are wanting to do. But he mentioned specifically, and just once, just for a moment, I saw him with a specific, what is the thing called that denotes certain letters? Because in this form of him, it's not the dot over the I, it's the little slashy thing. On, I think, the planet, he is from a very specific version of a him. It's like people of presence, but it doesn't make sense why that sort of a person, if that is the same usage of it as they used earlier, because there was a whole interlude about genders on some planets, because there are multiple different genders used throughout different parts of the book. But this, if it is the one that it talked about earlier, being a higher, more the type of male that you strive to be, that like the perfection form of it. And I think I almost know who they're referencing. And so I don't understand why they would have that brain hooked up to this. And it's like, I saw him just once. His presence was fleeting, a taste like the last flash of sunset. He was screaming just like everyone else, and then he was gone. And part 3 is where I'll be starting next, and that's how the Shine went to war. So that's going to be interesting because, of course, this thing you went to get did belong to the Shine. I was going to say they believe, but no, they seem to know it belonged to Shine. Okay, hopefully this spoiler, not spoiler, went okay. I don't know. Exciting-ish this morning. The Goodreads were announced, and I used my new desk microphone and the camera set up on my desk, and there was some lighting that I didn't notice at the filming, even though it was on my eye. Like the sunlight was through the window and it was like right here, and I noticed it in editing. I'm like, oh, that looks bad. Too late now. But the microphone is the part that I was most excited that I got set up appropriately, because with my own voice especially, I don't notice the slight changes in pitch when trying to make the adjustments to do the noise cancellation and make it sound right. I can't notice that. I really don't. I don't know what's wrong with me. But hopefully it came out okay. Nobody has said anything yet. So I did the Goodreads. I didn't talk about the mystery books. I didn't talk about the horror books. I didn't talk about the romance books. I was so excited. I did a great job. And like I said, I have not read anything today. I did all that reading last night, and then I haven't read anything today. And I don't know. I should start part 3, though, so that way I have a little less to read tomorrow. But I know somebody else probably also wants me to go, run a dungeon or something, because that went horribly earlier, so I should totally go do it again. But hopefully you're enjoying it. I'm enjoying at least babbling it, mostly. Then I edit it, and I'm like, why am I so like this? What is today? Today was super busy, but I've already gotten in my PJs, as you can see. I finished part 3 last night. That was a thing. Did I tell you the name of part 3? Or I haven't decided. I thought I had a neat idea to put the parts as a transition-y scene. Because I know there was this thing where the curtains opening in Da Vinci. And I was like, ooh, cool, I could do that. And I could put the part name in between. But would that be too much of a spoiler? And also, how would that work with some of the other things? Which also, B-roll wasn't winning in the poll, which is great because I haven't done anything interesting enough to film outside of burning dinner. And that only happened on chili night, which is most unfortunate because I was like, ooh, look at my chili. Look at me making chili. I burned said chili. I want to say that I've never burned the chili before. I want to say that was the first time. But who could be sure? Who could be sure? Hi, sunshine. Today was super busy, though, in what was just supposed to be the routine HVAC people coming in, just doing the quarterly or annual checkup or whatever on the system, make sure everything's good and all covered. And then apparently they have upgraded the service to where also an electrician comes. And so he was looking at our light in the living room that has been dead for over a year and told us that maybe you could try a different kind of light bulb, not the standard kind that, is okay with less power, or just we're going to try to replace the fan. in general, because it's a fan with lights in it, and so that's why. So we're gonna, I guess, try to do that. I've just been dealing with not having an actual light in there, and that's why every time we film in there at the couch, it looks like the last clip you saw, unless I bring one of these lights over. Anyway, so the electrician came and told us all that. And then the HVAC guy came, and my husband brought up about, how the part's always on, like all the time. And see, I swear, the installer told me in June that that's, it's supposed to be on for dehumidifying purposes. And the guy was like, no, it's not. I don't know what they did or why. Like, even if it is on for dehumidifier, it shouldn't actually be on all the time, all the time. And see, I'm like, well, we live in a very humid place, so that's why I justified it to myself. And apparently I should have called them sooner. It's still, brand new, under warranty, so we're fine. But there's a part missing from its controller board that would have turned it off. It's fine. It's fine. It'll be fine. They have to order the part, and then they'll be back again to replace it. And then maybe the background noise that has just become constant, it'll be gone. And that'll be, that. And one cat's gone. Another cat has appeared. Part 3 of Slow Gods, though, not where I am right now. It was called The Shine Goes to War. I'll say it again, I guess, whether or not I did that. So, and I was editing the vlog, and yet I don't remember what the last thing I said, and I edited it earlier.
I can smell the failure.
Oh, the last thing had been about how he was hooked up to the device, and I was speculating about the him, and oh my gosh, I was right. And it just appears that, he got important enough, and his curiosity let him do that. Like, even though people kept telling him not to do that, it was his curiosity. He's like, I want to try it. And so they hooked him up for like that brief moment. Like Ma saw, he was only there for a moment, and then he was gone. And he's a weird dude. So weird. And as most people in power are, narcissistic, slightly psychotic, and don't care about anything, and they're always right. So part 3, though, was all on the Spindle, which is this big station that orbits a gas giant. And like, by big, it houses well over 1 million people. It is its own habitat and continent, but they are the communications hub for the universe. That's what they set themselves up as. That's their business. And they are there because with all the other sorts of communication now, and of course, competition and stuff, well, they also specialize in in-person meetings between interspecies and stuff. They will create habitats for everybody to where you can come and have your private meetings in person and be completely safe. They're completely neutral party and all the things. And they did. Like, they had all the people from across the Accord, different species coming in, and they had like their own pod things that could move around with it. And they adjusted gravity to be kind of like a middle line in between all of the different things that were coming. Okay, they're on this Spindle, and they wanted to get all the peoples and united places of the Accord together, because now, after Ajamir, it's been blasted, and now the people of the Shine, those planets that Ma is from, who kept being like, it's not going to affect us, it's not actually even going to happen, have realized that it's not just going to stop. The radiation blast is not just going to stop. It will eventually still be strong enough when it gets to their planets to do damage. And they have been making motions to take another planet that's not part of the Accord, and it's kind of slightly weaker. And that planet nations went to the Accord, and they're like, you got to stop them. But, and the reason why they're just going to all meet and try to figure this out together is because they can't. For a reason that I have not mentioned at all in this vlog, even though we've said things, we haven't said that. We're going to try to not. So they're there, and Ma gets recruited by an ambassador for the consensus, and he is taken there as kind of her pilot. Well, really, it was her pilot, but also her intermediary, kind of. And it was weird, though. Something was weird. It's like, she had the device. I don't know how she had the device, but she had the device that he had taken from Ajmer, and that the Xiphons, have I come up with a way to say that yet? They had it. So, and I guess maybe they gave it to the Accord, but how did the consensus get it? Though, is the consensus part of the Accord? I don't remember. Somehow, she had it as her emissary, and she was taking it there. and Ma had to deliver it to somebody. And the somebody, it was weird. I don't understand why that chain of events happened from the somebody to the other person, and then it ended up to Ma being shot and diplomatic relations ceasing. But pretty much the him that we were talking about earlier arrives at this meeting, and he is the executor, not like a chop off, like the executor of a will person. That means he's the head of the shine right now. He worked himself up from where we met him earlier in the book, which it did make a big deal of him then. He's worked himself up through management even more to be the leader kind of the shine, and everybody does what he says. He believes everybody will do what he says. And it almost even brought Ma to where he even almost listened. Like he just stuttered for a moment and then he kept walking away, which really shocked the guy. But he knew, of course, who the ghost of Hashatu was, and there was a lot. There's a lot more that I'm kind of skipping over. The thing was, and the thing about the whole book is it's kind of beautiful, and it's a standalone. So you're getting a lot of details and a lot of descriptions with not a lot happening. Kind of like part 3 was, I think, over 100 pages. I think. And you're only on the spindle. It's only for these political talks that maybe take place over the course of a day or two. You get introduced to a few characters where you really get to get details about them, and then just more so others are side characters and in and out. But it's always focused around Ma and what's happening with him, his feelings, his thoughts, and some past things brought in. So I guess we should say this book is a character-driven book, character study book. It's been interesting because I'm not disliking it, even though it is going slower than I feel like I would generally enjoy. I think it's just because it's so different, maybe? I don't know. I think every other individual and standalone go together, Sci-Fi have always had some point of Earth reference. Either they're on here, they're not too far from here, like with The Martian and Project Hail Mary. And there was another one that I thought of as an example, but it's gone now, and apparently all we can think of is Andy Weir books. And they always have Earth as a reference. It starts here, or it's not too far in the future from here. It's a good reference. Nothing. Besides the fact that they're humans, we don't know anything. There's a cat eating plastic. I can hear it. Oh my goodness. So I'm going to go deal with that, and I shall let you know. I don't know now if the book will be finished on Friday. I'm watching you. This morning we finished Slow Gods during Ash's sprints with Books to Ashes. She always does, well, not always, but most Fridays she's doing reading sprints over on her channel. So it's a fun time to get motivated to read on a Friday and chat together. This would be covering part 4, The Size of Infinity, and part 5, which was called Where Once There Was a Star, which that's only 3 chapters, and they're all just a few pages long. The Size of Infinity, though, this one, Mao is different. He's been different the whole series, but he's not himself. He's very numb seeming to what's going on around him, everything he found out in the course of part 3 with the shine, with the consensus, everything. And so he's kind of joined up with the rebels and whatnot, or the Unionists, and is their pilot because he doesn't want to sit in one place. He doesn't want to do anything except find the blackness. He wants to be in the blackness. And even though that feels like it's changing for him too, because he's like, I don't think it's ever spoke to him. I think he says it's never spoke to him. But at least he used to feel curious. That's what you hear throughout the whole book, that he's curious. Everybody tries to keep him occupied to where he's not too curious, where he gets dysregulated. But now he's just kind of numb. That curiosity's faded from him after everything that went down on the spindle. And in part 4, you are not in the same place a whole lot. Mostly you are on kind of a ship as he's going these different places. And then there is the planet that they're going to try to take supplies and whatnots. And eventually, though, they kind of get caught. And he has to jump to arc space really, really fast. And this is a spoiler. And I said I wasn't going to do a lot of spoilers. But that's how he meets the Slow. He meets the Slow. and they have a conversation, and that was interesting, and I guess had him be introspective, thoughts on, the deity, because he goes, well, the Quan consider you a god, and like the slow kind of says things. Part 4 was hard to read, though, a little bit, as he wasn't himself, and like this numbness to him. But just the way it went about and how everything started to wrap up. Realistically, I don't know that the pieces fell together quite great, but it did make a kind of sense. It made a kind of sense. It's not great, but at the very end, part 5, and like the last chapter, it was bittersweet and in a perfect sort of sense of an ending, while still being hopeful for our character and also open enough that you can feel there's a possibility to write more here in this world. But it is a good ending for the character itself. He's still fine. He's still his normal kind of self. And he's even more back to his normal self. It is very sad, though, that he's with the Imni, the ship, and it talks about how the ship is in, its last cycle of life. It's in his final winter, and that was kind of sad. Like, I really knew you were getting to this conclusion. He's had this ship over a century, all these years, and it's been his ship that he's flown the most and been with. So I already have run this through the compile, and it came out to be a 4 stars. I actually kind of had to keep bumping it up because my initial breakdown thoughts and like was scoring each thing under, it gave it a 3.5, and I was like, I don't think it deserves a 3.5. I can get why mathematically, because it's like I didn't like this, but I didn't think this deserved too much higher. So I was like, okay, fine, just bump. Because I think it deserves a 4 stars. But the individual things, it's harder. It was harder to say, well, this over this. All the description of the back gave like such good vibes of like, this is going to be an interesting, intricate, standalone. I'm excited for this story. And then what we got, it was that. Like, it gave us the back, for sure. But it wasn't like an action story or I guess we did span the universe. Well, we went to several places in the universe and we got information about a lot of the universe. But it was so detailed and revolving around our one character and inspection of said character and like how he was driven and felt to learn because he's curious, and just how he always felt other. Even when he was fully human, he felt other because he didn't know how to smile the right way. He didn't know how to do the social graces to fit in and respond to the situations. It was just such an interesting look at a character, I feel like. And I really hope that it gets the attention to get a lot of people picking it up and talking about it, to see how other people are responding to the book and responding to the character. Because I would love to see how people are going to do with this narrative style and so detailed, character focused, more than the big picture of what's happening, that he is a part of this big picture. But as he keeps saying, like, we as individuals, we are nothing, and what we do has no meaning, but yet it has all the meaning. It is so vast that we can't be special, and yet everything that we do has to be impactful and special. We're just little sparks, so we must burn bright. And I'm paraphrasing here and probably getting it really, really wrong, but something I realized as I was trying to write out the review for this is that while we do start out and he's telling us a story, kind of, it's not in the way of some of the others. Well, yes, there would be inserts. There are definitely interludes, but like where he's saying something over it, like that he thought at the time or something, that slowly shifts to not being as prevalent. I feel like by the end, it doesn't feel so much like he's telling us the story, more like this is happening at the now. So that was kind of interesting. I don't know, maybe that was just the way I was reading it, but it was making me think here as I was writing the review. I was like, was it still the same style choice as we started with? Was it intended to be different? Because I don't feel like he was telling me the story anymore. I feel like we're there with him, even though it's still being the I. So that's first person. So that was one thing I noticed as I was doing that. So I have to finish writing the review tonight here after dinner. We're going to try to watch that new movie on Netflix, the Dreamtime, with the kids. And then I'll finish writing the review. And then tomorrow, maybe we'll try to film the review. I am uncertain as to that. I know I need to film something else tomorrow. So I might try to film both of them, which is a really probably horrible time-wise idea, but I want to film it while it's still relatively very fresh in my mind. That seems like the best thing to do. And then I can start Bookshelves and Bone Dust while I wait on Shadows of Fun Time to come out, which is another reason. Because like if I start Bookshops and Bone Dust, well, no, this will not push this out of my mind really, but like it won't be at the top of my mind anymore because now my brain will be processing another story. And I don't know why that's harder these days than it used to be. I hope you enjoyed this vlog in whatever fashion it did manage to come together, and that you will enjoy the review if you watch both of them, or if you came here from the review. We will have something coherent enough to say, I hope, and get it together. And if you enjoyed this, you might want to subscribe. That way you stay up to date with all the latest videos. Or if not yet, just come hang out for a few more videos. We can chat in the comments or on Discord. I just hope you're having a fabulous day, finding something great to read, and that I will see you in the next one.